Okay, and it says we're live.
All right, I guess we're live.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Anybody out there on the internet who's checking this out? I am Jam Creates. If you follow my channel, you know who I am. I'm the guy who talks a lot while he's driving his car, and you hear my. People give me so much crap about my turn signal. I'm like, listen,
Don't they understand you're trying to stream here?
Well, that's like, at least I use it, you know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So here we are. I'm here tonight. I've got Sweens and I've got Indie Dave. This is the team behind Oddity, which is going to start crowdfunding on September 1st, right, guys?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay, on Indiegogo, September 1st. Now, just to get into it right away, it's funny because I remember seeing the first bit of art coming out on Twitter a while ago.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it was quite a while ago. And
go on. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, and it instantly got me to follow you because I think you were the one who tweeted it out first. So it instantly got me to follow you because I'm like, this looks awesome. I want to know what this is. So here we go. So and that's what I do basically when I'm on Twitter and I see people like posting artwork and stuff that looks cool. I just instantly follow in the hopes that, like, hey, I'm gonna get updates from these people on what this is and when it's coming out and all that kind of stuff. So how long have you been working on this then?
Okay. Well, I started the character when I was actually in high school back in 99, 2000 time range, and I was always into art. I've been drawing since I can remember, and I just gravitated towards comics at a really young age. Just the art, like I just buy comics for the cover art, and I just really loved the style. And growing up, I would, pick up these comics, and then I'd copy the covers, and learned a lot of bad anatomy through the likes of Liefeld and some McFarlane's older stuff, or and I just started drawing comic book covers, and once I got a little older and I got a little better with drawing and stuff in high school, I would always draw these characters, and I always loved Spider-Man. Like, I love the dynamic poses and just the energy in the movements and stuff that these artists could create. And I was like, I love that, but I want to do my own character. And a lot of comic book characters are based off animals and stuff like that. And so, in my head, I was like, what animal can you like really pull a lot of these crazy poses off with? And it was a frog, and I always like gravitated towards them. I had them as kids and stuff like that. I just thought they were cool little creatures. So I originally started, and he was like a really dark character. The very first drawing I have, which I'll release here one of these days on Twitter, he's actually like eating a rabbit. Like, it's messed up. There's like blood and stuff leaking out the rabbit's head and stuff. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah,
but,
that's gonna be a good picture for the newsletter.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And so I would always mess with this character, and I would add on to it as I got older, like switch him around and stuff. And then in 2014, I think I got laid off a job, and I really, I'm for a living, I'm an artist. Like I do 3D art and stuff like that. That's my day job is I'm a modeler and stuff. So I didn't have a job, and my wife was like, just work on this book that you've been, or this character that you've been bouncing around for years, and try to do something with it. And I did. That was 2015, and that was the year my son was born. And when he came out, he had this orange tuft of hair shooting out the front of his head, and we thought it was the funniest thing. So I kind of added that into the character. The purple hood comes from when I was in high school. My high school colors were purple, and I always wore a purple hood. The whole like skateboarding aspect of them, that stuff was all stuff I was into while I was growing up. And as I got older, I just kept throwing them into this character. Well, the first shot at the book back in 2015, I got a few pages in, and then I got a new job, and it just kind of I lost focus on it, and but my wife kept like hounding me. She's like, "Why don't you ever do anything, with this character? Why don't, you love comics and stuff like that. Why don't you just go for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, one day I will." I was getting a lot of freelance work too, so I didn't really have a bunch of time. Plus, two children, it's hard to sit down and you know
Yeah, absolutely.
draw make up characters and stuff like that.
Especially when
So yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I had a kid sitting on my lap most of the time. I'm drawing this stuff, so it was a bit of a pain. But then what was it? Last year, probably around May or so, I I found out about Comicsgate, and I was looking at all these independent artists just doing what they love, and I was like, I'm gonna go for it. And I've seen all the success people are having, so I went for it. And I was kind of turned off though to use this character because Ethan, of course, has this giant frog
yeah,
character.
of
So
course.
I sent him an email. Um, I was like, "Look, I'm going to do this book, but I don't want to piss in your pond, Like, I want I want you to be cool with it." And so I sent him an email, and I never heard anything back or anything. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Like, I'm probably going to get some flack, whatever. I didn't really care. I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and push this book forward. And so I just started making art and posting it and seeing what kind of feedback I got. And people, like, they're all positive. People are like, we like this. This is pretty awesome. And so I just kept I just like every night I come home from work, I do the thing with the family and the kids and everything, and then once everyone's in bed, I start working. I work into, you know 3, 4 in the morning, and then get up the next day and go to work. And so I just kept pumping out work, and slowly started building a following. It's still not huge or anything like that, but it's definitely getting bigger, and people seem to like it. And
Well,
yeah, so
I definitely see, like, as you keep posting more pages and more work, like I see more people coming on board and
mhm,
asking questions, and I see people just
yeah,
commenting even, and that kind of thing. So it's definitely growing.
yeah, yeah, which is a good sign. I mean, it's so that's one of the things that motivates me to keep going forward is the positive interactions I have on on Twitter and stuff. So that's why when people support me, just retweet and stuff like that, I always thank them. And if they've got a project going on, I help push them. And I just try to be as nice of a person as I can on Twitter and not be a giant jerk like you often see.
Right. Well,
And
that's kind of
yeah,
the exception, not the rule on Twitter.
yeah, right.
But I'll definitely say, I mean, that's what, to me, like, it's very funny because you talked about discovering Comicsgate and then that kind of like inspiring you. And I feel like there's
Yeah.
so many people out there who
Hmm.
saw, whether it be Zach and his videos, and then his success with Jawbreakers, and then people seeing Ethan, and of course his outrageous
Yeah.
success. Like, I
Hmm.
feel like so many people have there's so many people who I've seen see that and be inspired. And you see a lot of people commenting from all different angles of, they'll say, like, I haven't read a comic in 20 years,
Oh
but
yeah.
this has me excited about comic books again. And
Yeah.
I see people who, even, honestly, even like myself, I used to draw when I was in high school, and
Hmm.
even before, when I was in junior high and all that. I used to draw every day. I used to draw
Yeah.
every single day for hours, and
Hmm.
I used to make my own comics. And I actually share some because I still have them, the comics I
Yeah.
made when I was a kid, and they're all awful, but they're great. And like, and I put them on my website. Like I make videos where I just go flip through them. And generally speaking, if you ever want to hear me laugh, those are the videos to watch on my channel. Because as I go through my old comics that I made as a kid, I crack myself up with some of the stupid things I wrote, and I was just I was just making them up as I went along. There was no reason to half the stuff. But I stopped drawing, and then I got involved, life and family and kids.
Exactly.
And I stopped drawing. I would say, I like to say I took a brief pause from drawing for about 20 years. And, and just a couple of years ago, I started drawing again. And it's really funny because as being older now, I mean, I'm 44 now. So for me, like I have the patience that I didn't have back then when it comes to learning and improving. I think I've improved with my drawing more in the last year than I did in all those years when I was drawing as a kid.
Yeah. Yep. With me, it was just I had horrible OCD, and I had the one thing that, and I think that's the case with a lot of artists is, they've got this draw, like they have to be occupied with something, and they just seem to find art. And I think that goes with a lot of people that really push in any artistic endeavor is, there's probably some mental problem with them, because there's no logical reason anyone should think that they can make something and make money off of it. Like it's very conceited and selfish, but and
well, I think it's funny. Like I always give my wife so much credit for having the patience, and Dave, you as a writer can probably relate to this too, and I'm sure Sweens, you got to.
God.
This is everybody. You like I constantly have these like ideas popping in my head, and I'm constantly writing stuff down and just like jotting down notes like all over the place and just trying to keep track of stuff. And it's so funny because I'll have an idea and I'll go to like we'll be at dinner or we'll be doing something and I'll say to my wife, "Oh, I just had this great idea," and then she looks at me, and I know like if it was anyone else in the world, they would instantly just glaze over and be like, "I don't care about any of this." Like, but like she's genuinely interested in my ridiculous ideas that I have, and it's great. You can't help but feel like you're like there's almost like you can't help but feel almost a little embarrassed, like when you say like, I had this idea for like a mongoose, and he was gonna get revenge for his family, and like it's gonna be this like revenge, almost like Kill Bill, but in Africa, and it's a mongoose fight. And this is actually an idea I had, by the way.
No, it's awesome.
But like, and you'll go through this whole spiel, and like my wife will be like, "Oh, that sounds pretty cool," or then other times she'll be like, "I don't know about that one."
Yeah. No, I mean, my wife's been amazing. I mean, she helped support me when I was going through art school. I mean, like art school, like that's like she has to be insane to deal like to put up with me and hours upon hours of just drawing every night. Like she's so supportive about everything. Like, but she'll also like if I draw something and it's not up to snuff, like she's going to let me know. She's going to be like, "You just tuned this one in, and let's see it a little better." But you need people in your life like that. You don't want everyone saying, "Oh, that's awesome," and that's not how you grow as an artist or in anything. Like, it doesn't push you. It doesn't make you strive to be better. So, I'm very thankful to have her with me and, keep me in line, basically. So, yeah.
So then, Dave, how did you end up getting involved in this whole Oddity project?
Well, so I have my own little YouTube channel and my own little following on Twitter. And one of his the Oddity pics showed up on my Twitter feed one day. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Where'd this guy come from?" So I sent him a little note. I'm like, "Hey, you want to be on my live stream? Talk about your book?" He's like, yeah, sure. So we came on, once or twice. I had him on, and then I did a big live stream with the guys from Shinobi Sasquatch
Oh, okay.
and Monster MD, and he was on.
Yeah.
We did like this little like round table thing where they would talk about their projects and like and he said he was getting ready to launch or whatever. So we would it was basically them giving him advice and going over ideas.
Mhm.
And then after the stream, he offline we got to talking. He was like, hey, you wanna write for the book for Oddity? And I was like, what? And he was, I guess he said he had kind of not really a falling out, but his other writer lost interest, and so I was like, yeah, and he had been drinking that night, so
I was hammered. I wasn't just drinking. By the end of that stream, I was just hammered, and I was like, screw it, let's see what happens. Like,
So I was thinking, I'm like, all right, what probably happened was he probably had a falling out with the writer. By morning time, he's going to sober up, and they're going to make up, and it's going to, it's not going to happen. So I think I didn't hear from him for a couple of days, and then I was just like, all right, hey, you still interested? He's like, oh yeah, and then he sent me the first like 14 pages or something. And I was like, okay. And I looked at it. I'm like, all right, what do you want for this? And he's like, basically, what do you think it should be? And just go ahead and send me what you think it should be. So I did like a little script for the first 7 pages, and he was like, oh, that's totally not what I was going for. But he's like, yeah, he said I had a totally different idea, but he liked it. And so I was like, well, that's really cool. And then, I sent him basically an outline for how I think the rest of the story should go. And he's like, cool, you're on board. Let's do it. So that was really cool. I was really excited. It's a really cool project. The art is amazing. And I was.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Well, like, I didn't want to sit there and be like, this is exactly what's going on. Because, like, writers are creative people, and I wanted to hear, someone else's fresh ideas on this. So when he asked, what you want it to be about, I was like, I want to hear what you want it to be about. Like, I want you to look at these pictures, because, whether it's writing or, illustrating, we're all storytellers. Like, that's basically what we're doing when you rip it all apart, like down to the bare bones. We're storytellers, and I wanted to give him creative freedom and, go, like, I already had the character visually, like, you kind of get an idea of what this character is like. So, like, he couldn't mess with that too much, like, but I wanted to hear his ideas. I wanted to let him be creative with it. And no, actually, when he sent me the original thing, I was like, first of all, I got an idea of his writing from Twitter and just seeing his sense of humor and stuff like that. And I think it's hilarious. Like, I think he's really funny. And I was like, I need someone that can write things and be funny and not be scared about writing something, that might sound, like I am too critical on myself with writing, and I don't like being vulnerable with my writing. If you understand what I'm saying, like, it's hard to articulate, but I read things that I write, and I'm like, it sounds hokey all the time. And with comics, like, it's good to have some hokiness in it, and it's fun. Like, it makes it fun. But I take myself too serious with writing, and I was like, Dave's fun. Like, he can write fun, and it's funny. It's not hokey, and it was what I was looking for, and that's the main reason I asked him to jump on board, because I was like, I know this guy can do it. And when he wrote me the first draft that he came up with, I was like, it was such a fresh perspective on the flow of the story that I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is the man to do it. This is the guy. And, and then we pushed forward, and we did some sessions where we just brainstormed and stuff like that. And it eventually, I mean, actually, not eventually, right off the bat, we were kind of like finishing each other's ideas with where we want to take this. And, and he's easy to get along with, which is huge. Like, because a lot of people, you don't always click with people, and then you butt
he's
heads.
paying me, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's just been honey dicking me the whole time. It's like, yeah, whatever. Sounds great, sweet. It's like, but yeah, no, that's how we met up, and since then, since he jumped on board, things have gone so much smoother with everything with the book. And like,
Twitter is not like the internal cesspool that we all think it is. Good things can come out of there.
Yeah. Once in a blue moon.
Yeah. We can point to one example now.
Yeah, exactly. Out of the billions of dumpster fires daily on Twitter. But no, and honestly, a majority of the people I've met in Comicsgate are great people. Like, I talk to them and stuff, and they're just solid people. It's funny because, like, everyone you meet, they're like, yeah, I'm married, I've got kids, I got a real job, like, I'm a productive member of society. And you're like, wow, we've got more in common than most of the people I meet daily. Like,
well, it's funny because I really think that's the thing that a lot of people, maybe from the outside, don't really understand about Comicsgate. I think they tend to think of, I mean, obviously, when you have anything to do with anything in the nerd realm, if you want to call it that, instantly the go-to insult, of course, is, oh, you're in your parents' basement, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
but,
you're an incel.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Meanwhile, when you talk to anybody in Comicsgate, like, they're all married, they all have kids, they all have jobs, they're all just
like almost everybody's in our 40s.
Yeah. Like, we're all just normal old people who never wanted to give up on comic books.
Yeah.
Like, we love comic books. We love that medium, and we never wanted to give up on it. And unfortunately, the big two, and even Image, really. I mean, I know a lot of people tend to leave them out, but if you look at a lot of what they put out, it's crap. But all of them kind of just said, like, we don't want you.
Yeah.
So
which is hilarious because we're the ones with the money. Like, we're the ones that are buying everything, and then they're like, well, sales are down. What could possibly be wrong? Well, you just ostracized, all the guys with money. Like, you just took a giant shit on us.
Why? It'd be like if you ran any kind of a store, and every time someone came in the door, you just spit at them. Yeah. Like, as soon as they walk in, you just and then it's like, why would they ever come back? Yeah. Like, I mean, unless they're into that kind of thing, but that's a whole thing.
God, it's really upsetting, especially when you see guys that you've admired since you were a kid, artists and stuff, and then they sit there and, shit on you, like, online when people say stuff. Like, I'm a huge fan of Greg Capullo. Like, I love his art. I loved it growing up, all the Spawn stuff, and I loved it. And then, like, just the other week, he posted up a picture, and it was this girl, and on the side of her head, she has a shaved head, and on the side of her head, it says resist. And, like, I didn't say anything, but everyone online's like, keep that political garbage out of here. And then he gets online and acts like a tough guy, and he's like, it had nothing to do with, it was all about the story and not about politics. And everyone's like, oh, okay, like, obviously it had something to do with politics. Like, they're like, well, it's part of the story. And it's like, maybe it's a part of the story, but it's also a jab at people. And, like, obviously it was a jab. And, it was just like, why? And the thing is, like, it wasn't his fault because he didn't write it, but he didn't have to go online and act like that and be like,
I really think
people in their place.
I really think for a lot of them, it's a matter of self-preservation. I think a lot of that stuff is just they want to keep their job, they want to keep making the money they're making because they see they literally, it's like they're standing on the deck, they're all the way in the front, and the iceberg's right in front of them. It's about 10 feet.
Exactly.
They know it's coming, but they're like, I want to stay on as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. I get it. Like I love his art, and I will continue to love his art. I just thought it was kind of funny, like how he comes out. He's like, it's not political, and it's like everyone. You see a sticker that says resist on something, you know exactly what these people are pointing at and what they mean by it, and you know, like, come on.
Yeah, it's the most veiled word you could use. Like,
Yeah.
like you could have anything else like that would basically mean the same thing. There's,
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the thesauruses exist for a reason. You can
Mhm.
find other words, but
Yeah.
that word, when you use that word,
Yeah.
it goes along with that. I mean, this is not rocket science.
Yeah. It's so obvious.
It's
but-
like they think everybody's an idiot except them.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never catch on.
Yeah. And then when you do, you're like, oh no, it doesn't mean that at all. Like,
Well, they all think they're the smartest one in the room.
yeah.
They
Which is funny because the smartest person in the room would not think they're the smartest person in the room. They would,
Well, it's I know I'm gonna butcher it, but it's the saying of, rather, keep your mouth shut and have someone think you're an idiot than open
Yeah.
it and prove them right,
and remove all doubt.
Yes.
Yeah. 'Cause, yeah, it's all ridiculous. But
Well, and the funniest thing to me that always struck me so weird about this whole thing is, and it's not, not to be reductive, but like, it's comic books. Comic books are supposed to be fun.
Yeah. It's silly. Like it's I mean, it's really silly that middle-aged guys are into it. But it's even sillier that middle-aged guys are like threatening each other over something like this. Like I see it on Twitter. I'm just like, is this real life? Like, am I in some simulation? Like, what's going on here? Like, it's so insane. And yeah, and my plan with this book is just make a fun book. Like, it's just a silly book. Like, it's kind of a throwback.
That's what people want.
Yeah, like that's exactly what we're going for. And yeah, there's no political ties or any garbage hidden in there or anything like that. If anything, it's a story about owning up to your responsibilities in life and not being, a drag. Like,
Well,
a drag.
it's funny that you mentioned that because, like you said, it was partially inspired by Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that's one of Spider-Man's main, well, at least it used to be, one of his main motivations was, with great power comes
thematically, it's very similar. I mean, obviously, there's differences, but thematically, he's kind of a screw-up character, and he doesn't take his responsibilities seriously, and you have I call an Uncle Ben moment, and it's not exactly the same, like his uncle doesn't die or anything like that, but there's something he screws up, and as a result, more bad stuff happens, and now he has to fix it. So it's very thematically, it's very Spider-Man.
So wait, the character is going to actually grow and get like better throughout the course of the story, and there's character development. We can't have this. This is comic.
We can't have that. Like, yeah,
he has to be. Well, first of all, he has to be a she, and she has to be great at everything. And
no. Well, it's very progressive because the character is transphibian.
Yeah. Well, also frogs can change their gender. So he, next episode maybe he's got some tits or something. We'll see what happens.
That was like a major plot point in Jurassic Park.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, he's going to be a dude. He's going to be a dude throughout, and hopefully he'll grow emotionally and whatever. But we'll see.
But that's good storytelling, and that's what we should have in comic books, even if it's a person who's half frog and half human, and he's doing what like that again, regardless of what it is, whether it's 4 turtle, mutant Ninja Turtle brothers, or it's a guy who gets bitten by a radioactive spider, or whatever it is. Like, eventually, you still have to tell a story.
Exactly.
And they still need to grow as characters.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And no, the storyline is, I mean, as silly as it all is, and as ridiculous and out there as it is, when you strip it down, it's just a story about, a youth coming to terms with adulthood and taking responsibility on, or and that's it's a story that's been told a million times, and but it's a good story. Like, it's something that people can relate with, and that's what you want in a story, is like stuff that most of us can relate with. Like, for us, more than often with guys, it's like the moment you find out you're having a child, that's kind of like the moment where you're like, okay, now it's time to grow up and take responsibility and stuff like that. And with other people, it's different things, but a lot of people can relate with that idea of
Oh yeah.
getting responsibility and owning up for your actions. And also, I think that's the thing that's missing with a lot of people today, is like, it's like, don't own up for your responsibilities. It's society's fault. It's everyone else's fault but your own. Like, it's
What's funny about that is the one thing I always tell people when I see people like talking like, oh, who doesn't care about that? Who's not going to care if you tell it's this one's fault, that one's fault, this one's fault? The IRS. They're not going to
yeah, right?
like they're not going to care. Your bill collectors are not going to care. They don't want to hear it. They just want the money. Like, and that's the bottom line. Like, ultimately, you have to be responsible for your own thing. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, the IRS is super based, man. They're just like they're just, they're pretty real. So, yeah. But yeah, that's basically what the story comes down to. And then, all the fillers, just these crazy visuals and, disgusting pictures, and
I have to say, it's funny when I see the one picture where you see the trailer in the background, and then you shared a couple of the other pages with like the trailer and all that. And for some reason, in my mind, and I don't know where the story takes place, but for some reason in my mind, when I see the main character and when I see the trailer and all that, for some reason I hear in the back of my head "Born on the Bayou" by Creedence.
Right? I love CCR.
Like, it's just, that's what I like. That to me is like, that's the soundtrack already in my head.
No, it's yeah, definitely. That's the vibe I want to give, though. Like, for some reason, I always, like, I loved Swamp Thing growing up.
Yes.
Still, like, loved Swamp Thing. I just thought the whole feel of it was really awesome. I loved that, just that the gritty swamp marsh areas, and like, visually, I like it. I'd hate to live there. I got 2 ginger kids, if that tells you anything. I'm not about humid areas or sunshine or anything like that. Like, but I always like the feel that gives off, and and I love, like, working, like, you can tell in the color palettes that I use. Like, I love purples and greens and all that, and it all just came together, and that's.
Now, are you coloring the book yourself?
Yeah, yep. I do all the art on it. I draw it all, and then I color it all, and I
Coloring kills me. I like.
Yeah.
I look at like I said, I was away from drawing for a long time, and then I got back into it. And every now and then I'll attempt to color my own stuff, and it's funny because I'm friendly with Simon Bennett, Final Fight guy. I'm friendly with him. We're always messaging each other and stuff. And it's hysterical. I had drawn a picture, and I was just trying to futz around and color it. And I had shown him the picture, and he just took the picture I sent and colored it on his own without even telling me he was going to do it. And then he sent it back to me, and I looked at his picture with his colors, and then I looked at mine that was like half finished with my colors, and I was like, good Lord, I don't know how to color.
Well, like digital coloring and stuff, it definitely takes practice. It's not like you can't just jump in there and throw down colors and it's going to be awesome. Like you do have to use a good color palette. You have to know what colors react against other. It's all basic color theory, and it's important to have, you know, good foundations, good fundamental understanding of color before you know, go off and color anything
Yeah.
really. Um, but you know, it coloring it doesn't make or break an illustration, but it if it's done right, it really sets it off. Like it can really set off a good drawing and make it look fantastic. Um, it's hard to say make or break though, really, because I've seen some awful coloring on great line work, and then you're like, you know it's bad. You just look at it and you're like, this is awful. Like it's not working. But if it's a solid drawing, it's really hard to screw up coloring. Like and from my experience. But then again, I don't really color too many other people's work. I color my own,
Right.
and so I usually know where it's going.
Now, do
But
you draw digitally?
uh, well, I went to college for illustration. I did everything traditionally for years. And then with this book, I actually draw everything on an iPad Pro. I use Procreate. I draw everything on there. It's one of the most awesome programs I've ever used. Like it's really amazing. And it's the closest thing to traditional drawing that I've ever found. Now, that being said, if you can't draw traditionally, you can't draw digitally. Like,
Right.
there's the computer can do a lot of magic, but it's not going to make you understand anatomy better. It's not going to let you understand perspective better, or anything
Right.
like that. Like, you still need those, a strong fundamental understanding of all that stuff before you just jump on a digital drawing program or anything like that. But it it also makes it so much faster for me. Like drawing like that. Most of the time, I draw a lot at night after everyone goes to bed, but also like when my daughter's at she takes Irish dancing, so she goes to dancing class for 2 hours. I'm out there in the car drawing.
Okay.
She goes to soccer practice. I'm out there drawing. I take a half-hour lunch at work. I'm in our room or in our conference room drawing. Like, it, and I couldn't do that with traditional. Like, I just bring my iPad everywhere I go, and
Right.
if I've got 15, 20 minutes, I sit down and I draw, and I just knock out every little bit I can like that, and that's just my way of working.
So now you guys are, as far as the campaign goes, are you going to have like original art for sale? Since you're working digitally, you're not going to have pages.
Um, what I'll do is like I'll do a cover, like a traditional inking of the color or of the cover, and what I'll do is I'll print out in blue line the
Okay.
cover, the inks, and then I'll do one inking of that for the cover art, and I'll put that up for sale, and the rest, it's just not worth. I mean, it is worth it because it's a lot of money, but like time constraints that we
Right.
have on this project, it's just it's not going to be possible.
So now
That's
you
what I'd say now.
guys, you guys are launching September 1st. And then when is your estimated delivery? Now I know I'm not going to hold you to this because these
Yeah,
dates are always in flux.
exactly. March 2020 is when we plan on delivering the book. It gives me, quite a few months to knock out the rest of the pages. I'm on like page 23 right now. Um, when I originally sent Dave the pages, I think we're at 17, and then he scripted the new pages for me, and then he also did adjustments to the previous pages to help the story flow better and everything. And since I did it all digitally, it was really easy to move things around and you know, follow his guidelines of how to make the story work better from, his perspective. And it was a little bit of work, but it's making everything much better, much stronger storytelling. And yeah, so
So now, what's funny is I'm looking at your project, and like you guys mentioned before, like Monster MD and Shinobi Sasquatch. There's a lot of, I guess monster characters, I guess for lack of a better term, that are coming around right now.
Yes,
Team Monster.
Right. That's what I was going to get to. And it's funny because I actually I blew up. I didn't know I was doing it, but I actually blew up Rob from Shinobi Sasquatch, it was Rob and Cal and Vaughn. Mm-hmm. I just threw out this tweet because they were both promoting at the same time, and I just kind of threw out this thing of like, hey, you guys, like when are we going to see us? When are we going to see a crossover with these two? It just makes sense.
Oh,
and it was funny because later on they told me they were both like, how does he know? What is he?
Yeah. Well, because it's obvious.
Like, it was just so natural.
No, they got two great looking books, and I've talked to those guys several times, and they're really stand-up guys, and they really led the way for the indie guys, like coming up to show us how to do it right, and promote and how to put together a good looking Indiegogo. And will ours be successful? That's time will tell. Hopefully it is. I'm not going to sit there and count my chickens or anything like that, but
I think you guys have definitely got like a couple of the keys, at least for me, when it comes to backing stuff. I mean, I've backed a bunch of books, and for me, like, one of the first things obviously is the art, because that's the first thing you see.
Yeah.
It just goes without saying, when I was used to buy
he's got a knack for doing like iconic images. Like that picture of Oddity right there on his cover is cool. The way that trailer is set up in the tree, it's like a cool, it like tells you almost everything you need to know about at least the tone of the story.
Yeah.
Well, that's even that, like the trailer up in the tree to me is such a it's like one of those things where for when
it's ridiculous.
Well, no, not only that, but like when you would see something and you instantly know like what it is, like when you would see for whatever Castle Grayskull, or when you would see Snake Mountain, these things were just instant. Okay, boom, you see it, you know where you are. And
Don't get me on Snake Mountain.
Well, now I have to ask.
Yeah, really want to know? I posted up on Twitter the other day. Dave tagged me in this thing about like 3 random facts from your life. Is that what it was, Dave?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And Snake Mountain. This is one of my first memories in life, and it's absolutely ridiculous, but it sets the tone of the type of person I am. And when I was a child, I had Snake Mountain, and if you remember, it had the mouth that you could like chomp with.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, and then you had the mega, like the speaker you could speak into, and then it like project your voice, whatever. Well, when I was 3, I believe, I took a dump. I took a dump in the mouth of Snake Mountain, and then I crushed it. This is one of my first memories, and I crushed it, and I called my mom into the room, and I presented it to her like a gift to the gods. I was like, "Look what I did! I did this for you." And I just remember her freaking out, and so that was Snake Mountain. Yeah.
Man, you really did not like Skeletor.
I love Skeletor. I think he's great, but Apparently, I had different ideas for Snake Mountain. So.
That's so funny.
Dad, what's Snake Mountain?
Yeah, and now
Tell me the
my
story.
what's that?
Dad.
Yeah, now I got a 4-year-old asking me what Snake Mountain is.
You got to tell her that story.
Yeah. Trust me, if there's a Snake Mountain in this house, we'd have a repeat. This kid is—he's me to a T, which is not good. Come on, buddy. Trying to kick the child out.
I remember I had Snake Mountain, and I had the microphone. I actually unscrewed the little speaker that it came with. I actually unscrewed it, and took it out, and I kept weird microphone. And I kept those for years. I had those even after Snake Mountain was gone. I still had that stupid microphone and the speaker, and like I don't know why I kept it, but like I kept it for years. I had that thing.
Yeah, it was cool. Kids are crazy too. Kids just do crazy things. But it made sense to you then. So
yes, it did.
Yeah.
Did you know? I don't know if you realized this. I mean, you were younger. I assume you're younger than me. If you were 3 when you had it.
Yeah, I'm 35 now.
Yeah. So. Okay. Yeah. So one thing that I found that you could do with that Snake Mountain microphone is if you stick your mouth completely inside of it and you just made noises, it kind of sounded like a guitar.
So yeah, it makes sense.
So I would just do that and make like guitar solos on the Snake Mountain microphone.
That's hilarious. It reminds me of the dude from Police Academy. That was yeah.
And this has been your Snake Mountain moment.
Yeah. This is great. I'm sure people will really get a kick out of our ridiculous stories revolving around Snake Mountain.
They're gonna be like, "Hey, it's that Oddity book. Yeah, I wanted to back that. That's the guy who pooped in Snake Mountain, right?"
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's that'll be my claim to fame one day.
I'm picturing someone just drawing a picture of, or even just photoshopping a picture of Skeletor, like really mad.
I don't know, yelling one of his cheesy lines at him. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Well, you mentioned Snake Mountain, I had to bring it up. Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. But my point was that the trailer being in the tree, it's one of those things that you could anytime you could flash back to, you could show that, and it will instantly establish like any kind of headquarters or anything like that. It's cool when there's something so iconic like that, Yeah.
No, it's a fun little image, and it just kind of came out like that. Like it just kind of popped into my head, like this dirtball goofy character, like what would he live in? And I was like, he's not going to live in, he's going to be up in the trees, and what would he throw? I don't know. And it just came to me. I was just like, oh, I'll throw an old trailer up there. And then it was so funny. Like I posted it up, and a lot of people really liked it. And there's a lot of good comments and stuff like that. And then one guy's like, there's no way that tree could hold up a trailer. I'm like, have you look at the character on the front of the book? Like it's obviously goofy and silly, and
I love when people do that.
Yeah,
it cracks me up when it's like, you'll have an entire, like, you have superheroes and they'll pick like one little thing and they'll nitpick it and say like that couldn't possibly be, but you're okay with everything else that's going on.
Everything else, like
you're all good with aliens and superpowers and mutants and all this other stuff, but like that one car was like the 1964, Chevy, whatever, did not have that kind of steering wheel.
A radioactive spider would just give him cancer.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that would be that'd be a great story. Peter Parker just dies off of leukemia. Like, it's awful.
There's a what if for you.
Yeah. What if this was reality?
Well, you think those people are pissed about the trailer? I'm the one that's going to have to write how it got there.
Oh,
Well,
magic, dude.
you
Just
know what?
leave it up to magic.
Speaking of, are we going to get his whole origin story in this book?
Not this book. Dave, do you want to go on? I feel like I'm rambling on here.
Yeah, we're probably if we do good on this book, when we get the second book, that's going to be the major origin story.
Okay, so then
We'll figure out where he came from, and we'll figure out where the fly came from, and we'll figure out how the trailer got in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about the little side character.
Yep. No,
so what's the real quick? I don't think we ever really got to like what's like the pitch. I never really just asked for the pitch. Like, what's the pitch for the book? Just for anybody out there watching.
Let's see. So, Oddity is lives in the swamp, and his whole deal is he was turned into this creature, and through botched science and magic, and the spirit of the swamp has assigned him to be the guardian because of human interaction. There's been chemical spills and all kinds of stuff. So the swamp spirit has basically said, "All right, I need you to keep people out so that I can heal, and so that it can heal through all the stuff." So his job is to keep people out for their safety and to keep them out for the safety of the swamp. And he's really just this kind of punk kid who didn't really want the job to begin with, and he doesn't take it serious. And as a result, he screws up big time and causes a bigger danger. So the story is basically him trying to learning to be responsible and learning to take his job seriously.
I like that.
So,
I like that.
yeah.
Now, is he going to have like a rogues gallery, or have we not gotten that far yet? Or
and there are future stuff that I've been thinking about as far as like maybe other kind of weird creatures in the swamp, kind of like I think we should make up our own urban legend type stories. But one of the things he's up against is something that is accidentally creates in the swamp, and that's what becomes a danger.
okay.
And there's going to be other stuff in I think later on. There's already, like, if you've seen some of the pictures, these weird like flying creatures with a big eyeball.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been calling them peepers, and they're basically like the eyes of the swamp, and they annoy him like flies.
Okay.
And he kind of has to learn to get in touch with the swamp and use all his resources around him. But there's those things, and there's going to be some other stuff, kind of urban legendy type stuff.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
So like people that enter the swamp into this like restricted area that was basically contaminated by this defunct chemical plant. People that go in there, they get mutated, they change, they wreak havoc, and so there's going to be plenty of weird stuff. Like there's going to be a lot of weird stuff going down in this book. I mean, if you haven't picked that up yet by some of the images, like things just, they're odd, they're weird, and that's kind of like the whole name of the book. Like not only is the character oddity, but the whole world's just odd and strange. And yeah, so that's kind of like the whole premises of this book is it's just a weird alternate world within this swamp. And the swamp's trying to get back to baseline, and people are coming in, they're getting messed up with the chemicals and the swamp, and it's causing all these insane occurrences that go down in there. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it sounds like you guys have got a great setup to do a lot with.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of ideas. But kind of a big thing when I was a kid was like, of course you guys probably remember, it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And like, if you remember, like back in the 80s, early 90s, like everything was like green ooze. Like for some reason, like slime was hot back then. Like, and I always loved that. Like, I always loved that I don't know why, but like Toxic Avenger and
Oh, yeah.
Swamp Thing and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and there's just all these mutant type characters coming out, and I always I grew up, and for some reason I have affinity for that stuff, and that's one of the takes on with this book is like I wanted to make something fun that I remembered as a kid reading and getting into, and create something like that, but for more of an adult audience, I guess.
It's
because
funny.
we're adults.
Right, we're the ones who are going to be reading it. So.
I guess we're adults, maybe, kind of.
Chronologically.
Yeah, right?
But it's funny that you mentioned, well, first of all, Ninja Turtles, I was like the biggest Ninja Turtle freak in the world. Like when I was young, like I was all over the Ninja Turtles. Like, I mean, I absolutely, I watched hours and hours of the cartoon. I read the comics. I did I wrote a report in school. Not even kidding. I wrote a report in school about Eastman and Laird creating the Ninja Turtles.
I mean, the very first comic that I bought to collect was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles original number 8 or number 10.
Yeah,
yes, I saw that on your stream today.
Yeah, I still have that. Yeah, when I was a kid, like you heard about stuff like the first Spider-Man, the first Superman, and you knew those were worth a lot of money. But when I was a kid, I'm like, I'm never going to be able to afford $50,000 for a comic or whatever it was. And I saw one of my buddies he drew a little like cartoony Ninja Turtle, and I was like, oh, what's that? And he's like, oh, it's a Ninja Turtle, and I thought he made it up. He's like, no, it's a comic book right now, and he was like the first, and this was in 1986. He said he's like the first issue is worth like $150, and I'm thinking $150. I mean that sounded attainable. So
right.
then I was like, oh, well, maybe comic books now will be worth that much, down the line or whatever. So that's when I started collecting and getting into comics.
That's the mindset that
I thought I'd get rich.
That's the mindset that had me wind up with literally 5 copies of X-Men #1. I had every cover plus the gatefold cover.
I had 5 copies of Spawn, I think, #1 when that came out.
Oh yeah, the Image books I had I bought all the first issues, even like the ones that I looked at and said this looks like crap. I bought it anyway just because. But Ninja Turtles, same thing. Like this, they were like this thing for me. Like as a kid, like when I first heard about it, it was like this weird thing that you were like, "What is that?" I kind of heard about it, like you didn't know what it was because it wasn't a mainstream comic. It wasn't put out by Marvel or DC, so it wasn't like front and center like a lot of the other stuff was. And so then when I saw it, I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. like I absolutely loved it. And I bought they had them. I forget where I got them, but I got like the first 4 trade paperbacks. Eventually, I bought all of those. I bought the adaptation of the movie, the comic adaptation of the movie. Which is funny because the movie was basically an adaptation of a few issues of the comics.
Yeah.
The comic adaptation of the movie was like a comic adaptation of a movie, which was an adaptation of a comic.
Super weird.
Yeah, but they were everywhere. I mean, it was like you couldn't after a while you couldn't avoid them. Like they were just everywhere. I played the video games. I did I watched the car. My mother and I, and this is funny. Like I'll never forget this. My mother and I. Every week, because I think you had to go. Like it was every week for 4 weeks. We went to Burger King to get the VHS tapes because they had Burger King issued VHS tapes, and it was like 1 episode on a tape. It was like hardly worth the effort. And they weren't like episodes that you didn't see. They were just episodes from the show, in a box. Like it wasn't anything special about them, but they were Ninja Turtles. There was 4 of them. The guy on the commercial told me to collect them all. So,
so you have to do what he says.
Yeah, of course. So my mother, God bless her, she took me every week. We went and got the videotape every week. So I got all four of them. I collected them all.
Yeah, but that created great memories,
Oh
and
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, and it's cool. Like with me, it was like every 2 weeks on pay period when my dad got paid, like my mom would she'd take me to Children's Palace. I don't know if that's what you guys had, but Children's Palace was the toy store, and she would take me to get the newest Ninja Turtle that came out. And these are good memory building things, and you look back at it, and yeah, it's funny and kind of silly, whatever. But you know, I do the same thing with my kids. I want them to have good memories, growing up and going to the comic book store and picking out a comic or picking out a toy, whatever. And it's
I was
good
gonna say,
stuff.
and I really think that's like as a whole, what this whole movement of independent comics and crowdfunded comics and all that is trying to keep going, because the
Yeah.
mainstream, like they're just like the books that they write. If you could tell
You can't share that with your kid.
no, of course not. And if you could tell me who those books are for, I'd be amazed, because like I don't know who they're for.
They're for the people that made them.
Yeah,
literally. It's
yeah.
like, I'm going to write a book that only I want to read, but everybody else has to like it. Other bigots.
Well, it's funny. I think they took that to heart. That thing of, I remember, years ago, and I heard it many times too. Like, if you're going to create something for yourself. And like, there was a lot of that. Like, I remember hearing, like growing up, I remember hearing a lot of like, well, I wrote the book that I wanted to read. And well, yeah, but you wrote like, a book that was pretty basic in plot, and it followed a lot of standards for things, and it was a popcorn novel. Or you wrote like, I made the movie that I wanted to make. Okay, and you made Friday the 13th. So
Yeah.
But now, like, the stuff that they're making, no one wants this.
Well, the people making it are 0.5% of the population. Like no one wants to read about transgender Superman or whatever it is. It's all absolutely ridiculous. Like
even and for me, I know I get and I had a big discussion with one of my friends about this. He's a huge nerd too, and he was like, he was the best man at my wedding and all. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about. I actually gave him a lightsaber as a gift for being my best man.
That's actually pretty awesome. That's better than a flask.
Yeah. Well, I said I got to give him something like that everybody is really gonna like. Like I had to give him something that he would really like, and he's like the giant Star Wars, like for years was always a giant Star Wars fan. So I figured that made sense. But we were having this whole conversation about just about like comics in general, and and he said himself, like he was a huge collector. He was a huge DC guy. I was always more of a Marvel or some of the Image stuff and all that. And then he like was just a huge DC guy. But even now, like the DC characters, the Marvel characters, like these should be slam dunks. They should be super easy to sell these things and to make people think these things are awesome. And like, and I know, Zach always says if you're on the cover, you should do at least one awesome thing in every issue. Like a lot, right. and to a point, I agree. Like they're taking the title characters and they're making them supporting characters in their own books. Like they're making them just it's just crazy. Like they're what they're doing with these characters that should be so easy to just bank on big stories and just all anybody wants is just fun action adventure. That's it.
Yeah.
Like it shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, we don't need Batman having suicidal thoughts and being depressed and hating himself or the self. I don't know. It's all insane. But the same thing is going on in Hollywood, and pretty much every avenue of entertainment it's just turned to this. It's just Captain Fuckhead's up in this chat. I just saw his name pop up, but it's all garbage, and we don't want it. We don't want this stuff and share it with our kids or anything like that. I'm not saying Oddity's a book to sit down with your kid and read through and stuff, but it's definitely not going to have any of this, outskirt weirdo garbage going on. Like, it's going to have weird stuff going on for sure, but not,
See, it's got a message, but it's not something that's going to bang you over the head, and it's a pretty universal message. There's nothing specific about it. It's everybody should take responsibility for themselves, and that's the overall message. And we don't got to beat you over the head with it. We just got to tell a good story, and you'll get it. You trust the audience to get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that's the thing that's missing from so many other things nowadays, though, is that they're just not. It's just they're telling stories where nothing happens, where literally an entire issue people are just like eating and drinking and talking.
When you get superheroes fighting gentrification, I mean, nobody wants to.
Well, that's like there was one just like not that long ago where they were like scrubbing social media or something. It was like, I don't want to hear and then there's the She-Hulk story where they were the YouTuber the cooking YouTuber who disappeared, and like you could have a point with that. It was something along those lines, like you maybe could have something, but it just seems like so ridiculous.
Queen was a murder house.
Yeah, no, my wife had some friends over. I went upstairs to grab a drink, and everyone's up there screaming and murdering each other. It's chaos. It's just another day in the Sweeney house. I just got back down to my studio, and hopefully the screams of murdered children aren't echoing. Okay. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so what kind of dog do you have? I have to ask.
Okay, I've got a Belgian Shepherd, and then I've got a Husky.
Oh, okay.
And Huskies are awful. They're just, I mean, they are super affectionate, lovely dogs, everything, but they are high strung and they get out of every crate you get them, and they're too smart for their own good, really. They're like a really smart kid with ADD. Like it's...
Yeah, I have a Chiweenie. It is
a Chiweenie.
Yes, a Chiweenie.
Did you see the doctor about that?
It is half Dachshund, half Chihuahua.
That is a crazy sounding dog.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, he's been on my channel, actually. I've done some dog walking videos where I'll just walk. Yeah, I'll just walk and put the camera on him while I'm just talking about something. But he's he is like, he's got the Dachshunds are super stubborn, and Dachshunds are super stubborn, and Chihuahuas are also very stubborn. So when you put it together, he's like the ultimate in like stubborn, yappy.
Yeah.
Like, just, but the thing that he has is he's got like the Dachshund body, like the long body, but he doesn't have the short legs. So he's got like his legs are actually like kind of in proportion to his body. So because of that, this dog can jump like nothing I have ever seen.
That's absolutely insane.
It's crazy. He like, I can stand now. Listen, I'm not a giant by any means, but I can just stand up just straight, and he can jump from a dead standstill, just jump straight up, and I can catch him in the air, like right at chest height.
I have to go watch your videos of you with your dog so I can get a look at this Chiweenie.
His name is Beans.
Beans.
We actually, it's funny, we have a sign outside our house that says "Beware of jumping beans." The name came from, we used to have a miniature dachshund also, and her name was Frankie, so we had Frank and Beans.
Frankie Beans. It's perfect. Yeah. My Belgian Shepherd's name's Killian. We used to have a Great Dane Pitbull mix, and Yeah, he looked like an AT-AT. And he had these super long legs. He was all gray. And then, like, he always had to sleep in bed with me. So it was like sleeping with another, like another grown man. Well, more grown than me, because I'm like 5'6". So like, I had this giant dog, and I'd like spoon him at night, and my wife would always make fun of us about me spooning the dog. But,
I don't know how you fit the three of you in there.
It was. I'm a tiny guy. My wife's not big either, so that we had this giant dog sleeping with us, and his name was Guinness, and he was an awesome dog. He just a sweetheart of a dog. Miss that guy a lot, but Great Danes don't live long, so
Yeah, that's true. I'm just imagining, because like my dog is 14 pounds, and he sleeps in bed with us, and he will take up the entire bed somehow.
Oh,
like
Guinness was out of control. Like, yeah. One night, my wife and I were drinking some wine, and this was like the first time I ever drank wine, and I was like, yeah, I've had a few glasses. I don't even really feel it or anything. And then cut to the next morning, and my wife comes down, and I wake up to her like pushing me in the head with her foot. And I look up and I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm all doty headed. I'm like, what's going on here? And I wake up and I'm in the middle of our living room floor in my boxers spooning my Great Dane. And she's just like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know anymore. Yeah. Well, people are really going to get a good idea of who I am once they listen to this. Poops in Snake Mountain and
Spoons his dog.
Spoons his dog in his underwear. Like,
listen, you know what though? From what I've seen, that stuff is all great, because that stuff, like when people can meme you and stuff, like,
oh yeah,
it winds up turning you. And I'm telling you, the Snake Mountain thing, like,
oh yeah.
I mean, granted, I don't have the biggest audience, but if that gets out, that's
it's completely fine with me. I'm pretty much an open book about things. Like, I don't take myself too seriously, as you could probably tell.
Well, I was gonna say, and that's one of the things that for me, like when I first got into like watching a lot of like the especially like the big comic skate streams and stuff, was just how much fun everybody was having.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I assume we all enjoy the craft. We all enjoy, the whole community. That I know everyone hates the word community. It sounds like I'm a commie or something like that. But no, we don't have too much time in this world, so we'll have fun with it. Like, don't take yourself too seriously. But that's just how I am. And I do this on every stream. And then later on, I'll send Dave a message, and I'll be like, "Oh God, what did I say? Like, what kind of ridiculous stuff did I say on the stream?" And he's like, "We'll just leave it up to the alcohol." And I'm like, but I might not have been drinking. Like, sometimes it just slips out, and then I end up in HR at work, and you're like, "Wait."
Oh jeez. Oh God, don't even bring that up. I do that at work.
Yeah. The HR people know me well. Like, it seems like every once a couple weeks, HR ladies come in. They're like, "Okay, Sean, we need to have a talk." And I'm like, "What did I do now?" They're like, "Well, you're a little too free spirited." And I'm like, "What the hell does that mean?" Like,
yeah, that's an odd way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's just, well, I'm like my dad just constantly gets pulled into HR. He's he's in his 60s, and he works with a bunch of younger people, and then they're like, everything he says, basically they're like, that's racist, or you can't say that or anything. And he's like, whatever, I don't care. Like,
you could be at that don't give a fuck age.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like, just about to retire. He's like, why do I care? Like,
Well, the funniest thing, I work with seniors. So if you want to see people who just don't care anymore.
They're like, I got 6 months left. I'm going out, burning this bitch down.
God bless them. I love them so much because they are so funny and they're so much fun because they just don't, like, it doesn't matter. Who are they trying to impress? Like, they're just having fun. They're enjoying they're happy to be there. They're happy to be alive. And
you're right.
Like, screw it. I don't care.
Exactly. They don't care. And it's great. People shouldn't care so much. Unless it affects, I don't know, other people or some shit like that. I don't know. Okay. Do you want to go over some artwork or
absolutely
anything like that? Okay, I'll go to screen share, and we'll go over a few pages or something. Do you feel like doing that, Dave?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right, let me pull up.
You've already shown everything else.
I didn't show everything. Okay. Screen sharing works best on a good computer. I'm reading these tips that they're giving me before I. Okay. Excuse me.
This is where we have. I'm going to start a new trend. Everybody's saying boomer. I'm going to just start saying Esiason moments.
Yeah, right. Okay. StreamYard. We're going to share that. Is it sharing my computer yet?
Here it comes.
Here it comes. All right.
We have this multi-dimensional portal right now.
I know, right? Okay. Is my image of the swamp up?
Not yet. All I see is just this tunnel into oblivion.
Yeah, we got the infinite screens.
Oh no!
Pick a different screen.
What's that?
You should be able to pick a different tab or whatever.
Okay, let me see. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. So, Dave, I know at one point you were trying to learn to draw.
Yeah.
How did that go? Or how was that going?
I mean, I still got all the books and stuff. Between like work, because I work nights. I work overnights.
Oh, okay.
So between working overnights and then like I get home and I sleep most of the day, and then on my days off, it's like the wife's always like, "All right, we got to go out and do this and that and get this taken care of," because I sleep most of the days.
Yep.
So I mean, it's hard to find time. And now that I got this, I'm more focused on writing the book when I can. Again, when it's like when I get the time.
Yeah, no, I get it. I did overnights for a number of years. I know how it is.
Yeah,
you start living like a completely non-human.
Oh yeah.
Like I used to joke about just being a vampire because that was it. I would sleep during the day, and then even on my days, like on your days off, you don't know when to sleep.
Oh yeah, and I always like the day before I start work again. I'm like, all right, now I got to stay up all night so that I get back in the rhythm.
Yeah, it was like your life consists of naps, and then like praying that you have to do nothing during the day when you have to work that night because otherwise you're completely dead.
Yeah, I did that for a while in college, and it was awful. Late nights. It's my.
We got it now. We see the swamp. Yeah.
All right. Is it just a swamp? It doesn't have.
No, we can see the whole picture.
All right, cool. So this is a page that Dave suggested that I do, and it's the opening scene of a good portion of the swamp, and the old factory in the background, and we got the skull coming out of the smokestacks, and he suggested it because he my first page that I showed him was like it had an establishing shot, but it didn't give you the whole feel of the swamp, and it was just kind of like this guy in a boat going down a river, whatever. And he suggested this to when people first open up the book, they see this page and it puts them right into it. And it was a really solid suggestion because looking back, it does kind of throw you right into it, and you're like, okay, well, we're obviously in some swamplands, and we'll see what's going on. And uh, I he gave me this page to do, and I was like, I really like when you open up the book. A lot of establishing shots you see in some books are like, yeah, they just do the job, and
Right.
I really wanted to push this page and do something, you know, special, and to my ability, I think I kind of
Oh no,
accomplished it.
it's a beautiful
And
page. It really is.
yeah, people really like my colors, which is funny because um, I'd never colored anything really besides with markers until I went to college, and I was my first color theories class. My teacher told me to quit. She was like, she was
Wow.
like, she was like, you're awful. Like
Oh
she
my
was this
god.
she was this little fragile old lady, and she's like, you are really bad at color. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she's like, I don't know if this is for you. And I was like, whatever, bitch, I'm going to keep doing it. And then I just stuck with it and learned. It was hard for me though. Like colors did not come naturally. And then eventually I kind of got there, I guess. You know.
Well,
And
I
then
mean, you could see it in this page, like there's like the depth of the color and the sun, like the haze in the background and everything.
yeah.
It really is, I mean, you could really see like the work that went into the color on this page for sure.
Yeah, I really put a lot of work into it. And I'm kind of happy with it. Like, you know, I'm never really super happy with anything. Like, I never feel like fulfilled with any piece I do, and I never will. And the second you feel fulfilled with a piece and you feel like everything's correct in it, that's the day you quit drawing, because then it just you just gotta keep pushing.
Yeah,
And
no, I know that feeling. I'm never sad. Everything I like, I'll see everything that's wrong with something I drew,
Mhm.
and then other people will say, "Oh, that came out really good. That looks," and I'll be like, "Yeah, but this could have been better, and that could have been." I've learned to
Yeah,
just keep my mouth shut at this point now and just take the compliment, and but
yeah.
but at
Mhm.
the same time, in my head, I'm going, "Well, this could have been better." And that could have been.
Yeah, and no, and you have to cherish that idea and realize that's a good thing. Like, you don't want to be 100% happy with anything you do, because it just ends up, you know, stifling your, you know, getting better and stuff like that. I got people walking into my studio right now, literally swinging swords at me. Okay, they walked out.
They
Okay.
finished their assault upstairs. They've come for you now.
Yeah, exactly. Good
Well, I got two
grief.
teenagers keep walking by, and they keep asking me, "Are you still streaming? Are you still streaming?" Yes.
Yeah. And well, this page is funny just because the top panel. Um, I didn't do it to make it look like it, but so many people were like, his tongue looks like a ball sack hitting him in the face, and well, now that you mention it, and now he's like slimed all over his face, and people are like, what kind of innuendo are you going for here? I'm like, honestly, I wasn't going for anything, but let's make fun of it. It's fine.
What's wrong? What's wrong with you? That's what you saw when you looked at it.
You pervert.
It's like a Rorschach test.
Yeah, exactly. Do you see a tongue, or do you see a gnarly nutsack smash into this guy's face? So, yeah,
Now,
but
obviously his tongue is going to be part of. I mean, he's a frog, so obviously his tongue would
Yeah.
be part of his powers. I guess you'd call them.
Yeah.
I think I saw. Did you? I'm not sure if I'm making this up or not. But did I see him swinging from his tongue in a picture, or am I making that
Not yet. There
up?
might
Okay.
be some of that to come, but God, to come, and then like I can't even help it. It just comes, and yeah. So his saliva causes a hallucinogenic effect. So like
Okay.
in this scene right here, the guy's just tripping balls. His pupils are all dilated, and he's seeing these creatures, and these creatures don't really exist in the swamp. He's just seeing all sorts of weird stuff to basically get him out of the swamp.
Okay, I gotcha.
That's kind of like what he does. He causes people to hallucinate and just trip, and in these first couple pages, he's basically he's going over accounts of his trip into the swamp, and
Okay, so he's telling people what happened to him.
yeah,
when he went
he's talking about he's a storyteller too, and he's just telling people, he's exaggerating and making all sorts of stuff up. And in this scene here, you see him. This comes after that. Oddity's up in the tree, and he's looking down at him, and you see nothing's around him, nothing crazy's going on and stuff. And it's just kind of like a cut scene out of that, out of those pages to let you know that this guy's just kind of crazy.
That's a great image, by the way.
People love this. People really like this, and I was up in the air about it. I was like, I guess it's
really,
yeah.
No, I just think like the depth and the just the way the angle and everything of him looking, and so you can tell he's watching the guy, and the guy is not seeing him, and you see the depth of where just the depth in the image is just great. Like it really
thank you.
It has a really three-dimensional aspect to it.
Yeah, and that comes through a lot of coloring technique. There's a thing called chroma with color where the saturation's bumped up. So I bumped up the saturation of him, and then I dulled out using like desaturating the background.
Okay.
So that it makes him pop off the page or pop out of the background, to say. And he's looking down and he's like, nothing's going on. And then he's got all of his little buddies hanging up here. Frogs are all over this book. They're always hanging out. Yeah,
well, it's definitely it's almost like a depth of field.
Definitely.
Like a depth of field image. Like for lack of a better term.
No, it works. It works. And then I'll jump to this page real quick. And these are these two hillbilly yokels in the neighborhood, and this is the establishing shot to see their shanty little house, and then they're hanging out here. They've been boozing and getting messed up the night before. This guy puked all over himself. People are like, "Why is it green?" I'm like, "Because green's awesome." I'm going to make it green. Like, if you don't like it, whatever.
He was drinking a lot of Ecto Cooler.
Yes, absinthe. Isn't that green?
I
don't. Yeah, and
either that or he was eating a lot of vegetables.
Exactly, right? He's healthy. So they're watching this paranormal show, and this guy's basically talking about what he found in the swamp, and saying there'll be a reward for anyone that can get hard evidence of this creature and stuff. And they go through, they're watching the show. Here's the host of the show talking to the local cop, and this is like their crummy TV. And he's trying to wake him up, so he hits him in the head with a beer bottle. it's exploding on his. Yeah, I mean, it's just over the top silliness, and that's what we wanted to do, and just make it something fun. And here these guys are getting locked and loaded, and they're about to go out into the swamp and screw some people up, or a
Right.
frog guy up. Yeah.
Right, because these guys figure we're gonna go get that reward.
Yeah, exactly. And not
And
to get.
then we can go buy some more green beer.
Yeah, exactly. It's St. Patrick's Day. So, yeah, and then I'm not going to show all the pages,
Right, of course. Yeah.
right? But I wanted to go over a few pages that were kind of cool. And this scene, this is one of the scenes that I was like pretty happy with. Like, before this, they're hanging out in the RV, and he's watching the show, The Crypto Files, with Jack Fagans, Fagans, whatever.
Fagans. I would say Fagans. It's gonna get you in trouble.
Fagans.
Yeah, I would go with Fagans.
It's Fagans. The funny thing is the name of him was suggested by my gay brother. And my brother hates Zach Baggins, the guy that does the Ghost Adventure show, whatever. So he was like, you gotta name him Jack Fagins. And I was like, we'll do Fagins. Like, we'll work with that. He's like, come on, man, just do it. I was like, whatever. So I kept it, whatever. I'm sure I'll get some backlash, whatever. But no, they're hanging out here. There was a scene where he's, grabbing the Chinese food full of maggots, and he's munching on them. And Arrow, that's the name of the fly, is arguing with them and stuff. And then he's like, what? I'm going to the bait shop, and the bait shop's where he goes to buy his food. And even though he was once a boy or human, whatever, he craves insect type creatures and stuff like that. So in the future, I don't know if it will end up in this book or not, but when he goes to the bait shop, I was having in my head, when he goes in, like, he doesn't want to go in and look like a straight frog. So I was planning on having his hood like pulled in real tight, and then just having his lips like hanging out the hood, like the hole of the hood. And he goes in there and he's like talking to the clerk, like, acting like he's not some kind of mutant frog. It's kind of a silly little idea, but yeah. So
if 4 5
oh
foot
my god
turtles can wear hats and trench coats and nobody bats an eye, like then you know what? Why not?
Yeah. Exactly, right? But yeah, so and then the scene is just him like bouncing about on top of treetops, and he sees the truck of the hillbillies come into the swamp, and this kind of leads into the Uncle Ben moment where things kind of go awry, and the story really starts to take off. So
yeah, this is right about here is where the action starts really happening.
Yeah, everything else, like, the way I looked at this book was like, when you watch a movie or a series or anything like that, they kind of like just plop you right into the story right off the bat.
Right.
And they don't give you too much background or anything like that. They do that just to draw your attention right in, and to grab you, and not like explain too much or anything like that. They're just kind of like, this is the world. This is kind of like what happens in this world, and just an introduction. And that's how I looked at the first book of this. So that's why
I
jumped
think
into it.
It's a cool idea to not go into the origin story in the first book.
Yeah.
Because so many things, that's inevitably what the first book always ends up being. Half the book is telling, here's who he is, and here's how he gets his powers, and this is this, and this is that. I was just having. it's different, obviously, for established characters. But I was just having a conversation with my wife earlier today, actually, I think it was, where I was saying how, like, how many times do I need to see Bruce Wayne's parents get killed?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Like, we all know. Like,
well, just dropping them right in the story is you're right off. You introduce the character quick, and you're showing what the character can do, and that's the exciting part about the character, not what happened that you got that way. And then now that you've got everybody's attention, that's what's good for the second book. You can say, okay, now everybody's they want to know more about the character. Well, that's what the second book. Then you can hit the origin there.
Yeah. Once you grab people's attention with the character, the people are like, they got questions. They're like, where'd this character come from? Instead of just being like, well, this is our character, and the exciting stuff will come later on. It's like, no, let's bring the exciting stuff in first. And then once people are invested into this character and, the storyline, then be like, oh, well, this is how he became this ridiculous creature. And that's my thinking of how to grab people in. And it's been done many times before, and I think it's in my point of view, is a very interesting way to introduce a story and a character and everything. I mean, by no means is this like something new, like
right. No, but I think it's a good idea. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think because like you said, you're going to have people will see the character doing something cool, and then they'll be like, okay, I'm into it. Now tell me more. Yeah,
exactly. And also, like, I didn't want to draw a bunch of boring stuff and then have a flop of a book and then be like, wait, everyone, trust me, the next book's going to be better. Like, that's when all the action hits. Like, no,
right.
I'm going to give people the action. It's really based off of, like, old horror movies, even new horror movies, where they kind of, like, throw action at you and scare you right off the bat, and then they go into the story, and then more comes afterwards. And that was my thinking of it. And
well, a big thing. Obviously with comics, you only have so many pages to do what you're going to do. So
yeah,
every one of those pages is crucially important.
It's vital. Yeah, you need to have. I mean, yes, there are going to be pages that aren't action packed and stuff like that. It still has to be interesting looking. It still has to grab attention, and keep the reader into the story without throwing these iconic action scenes right in their face all the time. That's what makes an action scene awesome, is the fact that not every panel is an action scene. Like,
right,
you do have these talking head scenes where it's just the head someone talking, and those are they're just as important as the action-packed scenes. And that drives me crazy with mainstream comics, where they'll do these talking head poses or scenes, and they just they don't even try.
They're all sitting at a table at the mall.
Yeah, like, it's the most generic setup ever, and you're just like,
well, you see a lot of times there's just flat angles, flat face, like everything is just flat, and they're just talking.
Yeah, it's always straight on shots. And
yeah, and how is that? Like, I don't understand how that even gets made at this point. Like, how does somebody not look at that and go, who's going to want to buy this?
Because it's cheap.
Yeah,
they put money out for the covers, they put money out for those guys, and then they just fill the interiors with Tumblr artists.
That's always been like, it's funny because even years ago, I've always had a pet peeve about different art on the cover than what's in the book.
Yeah,
that's always been a thing for me. Even when the art was good for both, it always just like was one of those things that when I was younger, I was like, I look at the cover and this is what I see, and then I go inside and it looks different. It still looks good, but it's not the same. I wanted to see that.
See, now that doesn't bother me so much if you've got a really cool cover and the art is good inside.
Yeah,
because I can see it as a billboard to advertise the book. the front cover, because that's the first thing you're going to see. But when it's like you've got a really good cover, really nicely done, and then the art is crap inside, then it's like, oh man, they totally ripped me off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it used to just bother me when it was a different style of art inside, and this was just a weird thing that I had. This was my own little thing. Like it didn't matter. I would still read the book, and if the art was good inside, I could still enjoy it. But it always struck me as like, I was like, I'd rather see the same guy do both. Now I understand why that doesn't happen. I get that, but at the same time, like when it's so different, and it's not just a stylistic difference. Even that I could deal with. You know, when you've got somebody who's got a style and looks different, that's fine. Like I get not everyone's gonna love everyone's style.
Quality. Like it's the quality of it, and it doesn't show up in a lot of these books. Like
I look at it's funny because you see a lot of this stuff now, and I used to think, I remember, you know, back in my heyday of going every week to the comic book store, buying buying tons and tons of books every week. And I remember being like super excited when they would announce like a certain artist was going to work on a certain character, or a certain character was going to appear in a book that I knew the artist doesn't normally draw that character. And I would be like, oh, I can't wait to see how they draw the character in their style. And like, you don't even get that now because the style is all just like that's the style now. The style is just crap.
It sucks. And you know, there are definitely some books in Comicsgate that I've supported, and I don't just support them because I love the book or anything like that. Like I support them because these are some people that are out there trying, like they're actually trying. And even if like I look at it, I'm like, it, you know, the art could be better or anything like that. Like I'll support them just for like moral reasons. Like these are people that are trying and they're making something, and you know, I'll support it for that. And you know, they're I'll go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, it's funny because we were talking about Ninja Turtles before, and as much as, again, like I said, I was a giant Ninja Turtles fan for years and years, but you know, if you go back and you look at those old Ninja Turtle books, the art in some of those books, you know, it was not the greatest.
It's iffy. It's definitely iffy.
But it had its own style. It was what it was.
Well, there's a charm to it.
Yes, and that book had a style and a feel all its own. It was very underground. It felt like at the time when it first came out, it was very underground. It was like this punk rock book that like, oh, what is this? You know, so I didn't mind. Like it was black and white. You know, everything else was in color back then. So it was like, it had all these feelings of like, this just feels like punk rock comics. You know, and so
how many people bought one of those old original Ninja Turtle comics and saw the art and was like, hey, I could make a comic book. You know what I mean, not putting him down. I've talked to Kevin Eastman. He's a cool guy. I met him.
That's pretty cool.
And you know, I love Ninja Turtles. But even when you look at Kevin Eastman stuff now, he'll do a cover for some stuff. It's still not like super, super high quality art.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Kevin Eastman. You can look at it.
Exactly.
I don't want to say good enough because I mean it's fun. I liked the art style, but obviously that's not, you know, Alex Ross or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean it's still good. But how many kids looked at that and said, you know what, I think that's achievable.
Listen, I did. I did. That's why I wrote a whole paper about them making their own.
That's so awesome. Though.
And then like, you know, and then it was funny because even back then, you know, a lot of what I would draw when I would just draw for fun, when I probably should have been paying attention in class, was I would draw the Ninja Turtles left and right. I would draw Ninja Turtles constantly. And I would draw them. In my mind, I had this separation of, okay, I'm going to draw a cartoon Ninja Turtle right now. So I would draw them in the style of the show, you know, and here's Raphael in the style of the show. And then I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to draw Michelangelo, but I'm going to draw him comic book
realistic
style. And comic book style, you know, and I would do that. And then eventually doing that led me to kind of make like a little hybrid of the two. But it still was like, I didn't care. Like either one, they had their own feel, and I liked them both. It didn't matter because I liked the characters, I liked the world, I liked what they were doing. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying about like with some of the Comicscape books. Like even if the art you look at and it's kind of like this is good, it's not spectacular, but the story sounds really cool, and these guys are busting their ass to try to make something.
Yeah.
Like I absolutely understand the reasons for backing something like that.
Yeah. No, and also when I back a book like that, I'm like, I believe that they can get better. They're putting forth the effort. They will get better. And
Well, a good example of that is eBay Canales.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Look at his Iron Sights, and then he's putting out a book soon. I can't remember what it's called, but I've seen some of the art for it, and I'm like, wow, you can see the improvement.
Johnny's Law.
Yeah, Johnny's Law. You can see the improvement in it. It looks, it looks so much better than back then.
And it's funny because this is what, like, if you go, he actually posted on Tapas, which is like a webcomic thing. If you go on there, he posted a book on there called Decimators.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, and again, like you can see, like that was even before he did Iron Sights. He did the art for that, and you can see, like, from that to Iron Sights to now, you see him just getting better and better.
Yeah.
But he always had the ability to do a dynamic shot. He always had ability to do like a cool action scene, like even when it, like maybe like his anatomy was a little funky or whatever. Like, and that to me is always like if you've got the dynamism in your art, like that can make up for a whole host of stuff.
It can. It can.
He was doing. I hired him to do a little 4-page horror story for me, and in the middle of and he was doing Iron Sights at the time, and so I was like, all right, there's no deadline on this. Whenever you can get to it, I know you're busy doing your other thing. So he did like 3 pages for me, and then like in the middle, he's like, you know what? He's like, I'm looking at Jawbreakers because he was exactly doing that one and writing Iron Sights. And he's like, I'm looking at Jawbreakers for the art. And he's like, I really need to step up my game. And then he redid some of the pages and they were better because he's got a really good work ethic that way.
Well, yeah, when you work harder and you're smart about it and you're not full of yourself, you will get better. Like that's what I was saying before. Like the biggest problem is thinking that you're good. Like, because the second you think you're good, like you stop progressing, and that's a huge problem. Like in any like artistic endeavor, you have to be critical of yourself and understand that there's things from artists that you look at and you think like, oh, well, they can't draw a face as good as me, but they're doing other things better than you. And you got to look at that and take it in and accept that, they're doing things better, and you learn from that and you push forward and, you make yourself better. No one's ever going to be the perfect artist. Okay. Like in any aspect. And that's why you just stay humble and you learn. And you just keep pushing forward, and it's a very personal, journey in learning, any craft, and just accept that, you're not going to be perfect, and you just pick up what you can and learn and push forward.
So that's one of the things I've seen from certain campaigns that I really like. A lot of certain campaigns have been doing fan art contests as part of their campaigns, and it's funny because I decided to do like when Shinobi Sasquatch did theirs. Like I said, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try it. What the hell, right? So I sat down and I drew, and I said, but it was funny because I'm not gonna be able to draw like Rob. Rob is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and
he's a phenomenal artist.
Yeah, he's ridiculous how good he is. And I said, but you know what? I gotta really, if I'm gonna try and enter this contest, I'm gonna try and do like the best I can do. Like I'm gonna really try and step it up. And so like I came up with, I came out, I finished a piece that I was proud of, when I was done with it. And I sent it to them, and then I saw the guys who were doing Hero Blood of Patriots. They did the same thing. They did an art contest as well, a fan art contest. So I said I'm going to do one for them too. So same thing, like seeing, like it's been inspiring to see, like when people do these contests, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to try, because it's just like an inspiration of like, here, I'm going to work hard on this and try to do a finished piece and send it to these guys. And, whatever, if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. It's fun just to do it. But I also think is in terms of just pushing your campaign, it's a good way to get like further promotion for your campaign, because anyone who's drawing something is posting it and putting your campaign out there.
Yep.
Well, their followers as well. So, from a business standpoint, I think it makes sense. But also just, from a personal standpoint, it's something that I really enjoy.
As we speak, I'm going to post out a tweet for an Oddity. No, I am. I'm going to put it out there. I'll tell them the winner of it gets a free book. Like, does that sound fair enough? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'll do that. Like, I honestly love seeing other artists, other creators take on my character. Like, it's huge to see that, and like it's very. It's also humbling to see that, because it's like something I put a lot of work into, and then someone sees that and they do it too. And I know how much work goes into creating an image, and even if it's not always on par or anything like that, like that's a lot of work and a lot of energy put into it, and it's awesome to see. Like, I love to see that, and every time I see one, I put it up online, and I push it out there. Like, it's huge. I love seeing that stuff.
I should be a ringer. I'm gonna post one and see if I get a free book.
Do it. You might get one, or you might get 10, Dave. All right, hey guys, I'm gonna have to roll though. I got children to put to bed. Swords are being swung upstairs. The wife's not happy.
Absolutely.
I think
really
stuff's burning down right now.
Oh God. All right, so we'll wrap it up. I really appreciate you guys.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having us on, man. It was a real fun conversation.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I didn't put too many people off with my poop story. It happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna half cover Dave's face with the little thing about Oddity launching on Indiegogo.
All right, guys. It's great talking to everyone, though.
Thanks so much. I really do appreciate it, guys. And so, anybody watching, Indiegogo, September 1st, Oddity launches. Sign up for the mailing list. The link is in the description below, so you can sign up for the mailing list. So make sure you won't miss it when the campaign starts. Definitely, you guys can come on again anytime. You guys are welcome.
For sure. No,
absolutely,
it was fun, man. It was a good time, dude. All right, thanks again for having us on, Jam.
Thank you.
All right, guys. I'll catch you guys later.
Take care. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
All right, that's cool, man. I appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, no, it was great time. I'm glad you came. Originally, like I said, I just reached out to Sweens, and then he was like, hit up Dave too. I was like, sure.
Yeah. I'm always. I need to start doing my own live streams a lot more. I used to do them a lot more than I do now. Ever since I got back from vacation, I've been all like lazy and not getting. But, I need to start doing my own here. We'll get you on too sometime.
Oh, awesome! That'd
do
be
a little
great.
Quid pro quo.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it really though, and like I said, like I also appreciate you guys. I know we're going to do a little something about Oddity in the in Indie Comics Underground, my fanzine that I'm launching in September.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're definitely going to do a little something for Oddity for that, help promote that when the campaign comes out. And that's it. So I really do appreciate it. Let me go. My wife's probably wondering where the hell I am.
No problem. Hey, you take it easy. And everybody in the chat, thanks for showing up.
Yes, thank you to everybody who was here, anybody who popped in and popped out, and anybody watching on replay.
All right. Y'all take it easy.
Take care. Have a good night. Peace out, everybody.
Later.